everybody. My name is Jared Sasso. I am one of the managers for Pisco Portone, and in honor of Pisco Sour Day / week, we are going to do a little tutorial on how to make a Pisco Sour made with Pisco Portone. And I'm also going to give you a little bit of information about where the cocktail comes from, who invented it, and we'll talk a little bit about this amazing Pisco that is distilled in the oldest active distillery in the Americas from 1684 in Ica Valley, Peru. So to start, the Pisco Sour was invented, believe it or not, by a gringo from Salt Lake City, Utah. His name is Victor Von Morris. And he moved to Peru in about 1903 to go work as a cashier for a railway company. And he opened his own bar in 1916 called the Morris Bar. And the Morris Bar actually was like, he had a little experimental lab down there where he was playing with things. So he did a riff on a whiskey sour made with Peru's national spirit, which is Pisco. And the original Pisco recipe was made with Pisco, lime juice, and a little bit of sugar or simple syrup. So what he did was started feeding this to his guests, and they fell in love with it. Probably about 5 or 6 years later, a gentleman that was working in the Morris Bar named Mario Bruiguet added the egg white to froth it up, and a little bit of aromatic bitters as well, because the egg white has a little bit of a pungency on the nose, so the bitters are really just there to give it a nice aroma before you take a sip of this delicious drink. The cocktail is going to be 2 ounces of Peruvian Pisco, 1 ounce fresh lime juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup, and an egg white. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get started. We're gonna chill the glass because we want it to be a nice, refreshing drink. So I'm gonna chill the glass right over here. And get started with our tins. I always like to do, especially when you're making cocktails and you're in a bar and you have liquor costs and things like that to worry about, you want to use the least expensive ingredients first. But you don't want to use the spirit first, and the reason for that is if you make a mistake, and believe me, you will make mistakes behind the bar, you don't want to have to dump the spirit. The last thing you want to do is, trust me, things get real tight behind the bar when your manager is barking at you because the liquor cost was too high. So next thing I'm going to do is add the simple syrup. So we're going to do 1 ounce. One ounce of lime juice, and make sure you fill up. You want to get that nice little bubble on top. That's a full ounce right there. And the baby. The Portone Pisco Sour is so delicious. Pisco Portone Mosto Verde is a blend of 4 different grapes. It's an acholado, and acholado means blend. It's a derivative of the word cholo. And the cholos were the ones that worked on the farms, and they got the leftover grapes and they would blend them and make their piscos with the blends. Mosto Verde is a style of fermentation. Pisco is a Peruvian brandy distilled from wine. We actually partially ferment the wine, leaving about 20% residual sugar in there, and then it goes through the still that way. It doesn't make it sweeter, it just brings out all the aromas and it brings out the flavors a lot more. A normal bottle of Pisco would be about 9 pounds of grapes. A Mosto Verde is about 18 pounds of grapes, and it's an acholado as well, so it's 4 different grapes. Next thing we're gonna do, all egg white drinks should be dry shaken first. There's a couple of other techniques. Some people put an ice cube in there. There is the reverse shake, but I always stuck with the dry shaking without ice first. It creates that froth, And you don't want to be diluting and creating the froth at the same time. It just makes it chalky, and it's for me and a spirits drinker and somebody that goes out and drinks cocktails, you can kind of taste it. It just doesn't have that silky feeling. So I'm gonna give it a nice shake. All the way up. Always dip test. Again, you never know when you make a mistake. Good stuff. Now we're ready to serve. Your glass is nice and chilled. You always have either a coaster, some kind of napkin down. So we're going to pour it out. Let's just take a look real quick. Look at all that extra stuff. Do we really want that in our drink? I personally don't. Some people like the froth, but the froth, again, is supposed to have a silky texture. It's not supposed to have a chalky or almost a bulky texture. And there's ice chunks in there as well, and I don't want ice chunks in my drink. Egg white has a little bit of a pungency to it. So normally you use Angostura bitters, but we are in an amazing school for bartenders that has everything under the sun for them to have the tools that they need, the New York Bartending School. And to my delight, they have chuncho bitters, which are made in Peru, which are aromatic bitters. So normally we do 1 drop, but since we're getting fancy pants today, we'll do just a little bit of artwork. You want to give it a minute, let that foam settle. You have a nice canvas now. Drop 1, 2, 3. It's ready to drink. There's your Pisco Sour.